Welcome, everyone. This is Pilot Needles, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at latest in LOTRO and hear LOTRO players. And this week, I'm joined by Krister,
Hello.
Cinders,
Hello.
and Sanswinda.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone. Are you all ready for some release notes?
Yep.
Sure.
All right, because we had the release of Update 46, which is the Kingdoms of Harad, which was released on Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. It was released on time, though, of course, there were the usual occasional hiccups along the way.
Mhm.
But we'll get to that later. A special note, Kingdoms of Harad has arrived, where sun and shadows meet. The Kingdoms of Harad stands at a crossroads, their rivalry sharpening as the greater threat gathers strength. Gandalf has come with a warning of darkness rising in the south. The Tharduth, ancient servants of Morgoth, rise once more, harnessing power that could unmake the balance of Middle Earth. Rally the kindred of the coins along with the fierce Mazadi, Shara of renewed Hamat, as rival kingdoms clash and old grudges resurface. From arid wastelands, blighted forests, and perilous ruins, war looms on every horizon. Who will rise to lead the kingdoms of Harad against the coming darkness, or deeper into it? The epic conclusion of the Song of Waves and Winds arrives with Kingdoms of Harad. Pick up Chapter 14.1, Whispers of Wizardry from Jait, the guard outside the meeting hall of Darlaja in the city of Umbar Baharbel. Completing the previous chapters of the Song of Waves and Wind are recommended, but not required. The level cap is now 160. With the level cap increase, monster player characters will automatically advance to level 160 on logon. So there is a link to learn more about it. And of course, there is also a launch trailer.
Nice.
All right. So, anyone have a. Actually, I guess we'll get to that on what we did this week. I'm sure if anyone's done anything with Kings of Harad, it will be on your what you did this week list.
Yeah.
So, let's also. Angmar and Mordor have a new level cap. Angmar and Mordor have been updated with the new level cap of 85. And you can learn more about Legendary Veil of the Nine Worlds on LOTRO.com. And I did do a check in there after the update and determined that no, they did not add any Mariner vendors to Hootbold. So,
Hooray! Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah. So any Mariners who are going to be dealing with this level 85 cap will not be able to get the most out of Hootbold. So let's go to some news and notes for festivals and events. Salutations to Faraday's Farmers Fair wrapper quest will now take 12 total days to complete rather than 15. Sort of irrelevant since we are not going through a Farmers Fair at this time. And a Bountiful Harvest Fall Festival wrapper quest can no longer be canceled to prevent issues with properly receiving the quest every year. As for classes and skills, let's begin. Let's see. Actually, we will hold off on. No. We will do classes and skills. Yeah, classes and skills. First, note Bjorning.
What are you trying to say, Pine Leaf? That I have no class?
Or skills. Which one?
He means
Bjorning
both.
class.
He's implying both.
Bjorning class save trait configurations have been reset due to changes to piercing roar traits. So therefore, yes, you will have to reselect your trait when you log into your Bjornings. Also, piercing roar now costs 10 wrath. Piercing roar is now only available to trait when specialized in the roar. Piercing roar cooldown increased from 30 seconds to 45 seconds. Piercing roar now reduces incoming damage to all fellows times 0.75 incoming damage for 10 seconds. Crippling Roar, now Resonating Roar, makes the buff raid-wide and increases its cooldown to 60 seconds. Thickened Hide now grants a multiplicative reduction rather than an additive reduction to your defenses. Artan's Hot now has 1 additional pulse. Encouraging Roar's Hot no longer tiers up. Its baseline potency is now equivalent to the Tier 3 of the deprecated tiered effect. Nature's Salve radius has been increased from 8 meters to 20 meters. Nature's Mend is now an AoE 30-meter heal for the fellowship of your target. Piercing Roar is now a fellowship buff rather than a targeted buff. The skill is no longer targeted and no longer reduces enemy damage. Trample is now an AoE effect and no longer applies a debuff. The improved Trample trait now increases trample damage by a 10% per tier. And Thorned Armor now mitigates effects damage, no longer ignores effect damage. All right, so those are the updates to the Bjorning. I don't know if anyone has tried out a Bjorning since then. Probably not, I would guess, based on the usual classes of this group.
No,
But
and I didn't hear Maven say anything about it yesterday either when we were playing.
Okay. Then let's go to the Burglar then. Corrected a typo with the trait No Subtlety. Subtle Stab now has a plus 10% inherent bonus to critical chance as intended. Malicious Wound can now benefit from dot crit chance. Clever Retort outputs now has reduced critical magnitude. Clever Retort now consumes aim correctly when used. And cash out payout damage variance reduced from 20% to 5%. Okay, so it's the variance that's been reduced. So it'll be more consistent in what gets cashed out then. For the captain, what's going to make Krister sad or happy? Let's see.
Trample.
At the 4, now tiers up from and mitigates effect damage. No longer ignores effect damage. I have no idea whether that's good news or bad news for a captain, since I don't know.
Kind of making me feel needy, basically, but yeah.
Okay. Then let's go to the champion. For the champion, Adamant now reduces all incoming damage by 5%, with additional 4% per fervor up to 25%. Adamant now correctly consumes fervor when used. Adamant now correctly applies your player buff before the skill removes your fervor, so it can respond to fervor-based changes correctly. Sprint cooldown reduced from 2 minutes to 30 seconds, or 45 seconds in PvMP. All right, that sounds like a good news. Sprint potency increased from 25% to 50%, or 40% in PvMP, so therefore it makes you faster and a shorter cooldown. What's the catch? Sprint in PvMP once again confers immunity to slows, and sprint duration reduced to 3 seconds. So in other words, this is something now that's designed to either get you into a place very, very quickly or out of a place very, very quickly, and isn't intended to be used as a let's hustle for some time type skill.
It's also not likely to catch you up to an enemy that's very far away either. You have to be making some decent speed before you start trying to catch them, probably.
So that means then that the champions have become the Cheetahs of LOTRO?
But only if you're less than 3 seconds away from them.
Yeah, right.
The 3-second cheetah.
You only have to evade them for 3 seconds.
Yeah. Well,
Let them waste 2 of their seconds trying to get to you, and then use your 3 seconds to get away.
I really like that. So 97% of the time, you'll be worthless. But 3% of the time, you'll be cheetah.
for 3 seconds.
Well, I think cheetahs are only ultra fast for about 7 seconds, so.
Kind of goes hand in
Okay,
hand with the
fair
dwarves
enough.
are natural sprinters.
Yeah. So now
And
champions are
naturally
natural
very
sprinters?
quiet and sneaky. Yes, clearly.
Okay. Sprint's associated tracery now increases sprint's buff duration to up to 3.3 seconds. That will be for the gold quality level. That'll be 3 seconds. Then for the cyan, 2.7 for purple, and I guess it'll be 2.4 for the yellow version. Yeah. So buff duration to 3.3 seconds. Athletic trait reduced from 40 seconds to 3, 6, 10 seconds of sprint cooldown. All right. So that means you could be, with the gold one, you could be 6.3 seconds a cheetah. So I mean, that's almost a full cheetah.
I think we should just start measuring things in cheetah.
Fair enough.
Start measuring things in cheetahs.
How many cheetahs is one champion? Well, that depends on if the cheetah is a virtual cheetah or an actual cheetah.
Well, yes. And I guess I suppose we do have to first find out whether or not the speed is anywhere near cheetah speed, but that's an entirely different
That's
matter.
exactly. In fact, there is no empty space. Virtual cheetah particles are being created and destroyed.
All right. The trait athletic no longer adds a stun proc to sprint. The skill wild attack. Each weapon type now takes the same time to execute. Plus 20% raging blade damage, plus 20% blade storm damage. Merciful strike damage increased by about 700%. That's a lot of increase on merciful strike. A merciful strike no longer changes the health threshold of merciful strike. So merciful minded trait now gives you a 3% chance for merciful strike to become available regardless of target health. Okay. Merciful strike now generates 2 fervor when used. Merciful Minded ranks 2 to 3 now increase the chance of unlocking unrestricted merciful strike up to 15%. Now, I have been trying to get used to the new merciful strike in there because it took me a while to figure out why is merciful strike not turning on yet or anything like that. Oh, yeah, that's right, because the whole threshold thing is changed and all of that. So I had a lot of things about trying to get used to it before I understood that essentially you get merciful strike up, and when it does come up finally, it's probably going to whap whatever you're going against.
Isn't that
And
its whole
devastate-
point, though?
Yeah, I guess that is the whole point to it. Devastating Strike now increases your personal outgoing melee damage rather than your target's incoming melee damage. Adamant's buff has been cleaned up and should now perform as designed. Mighty Roar no longer removes unbreakable buffs. Mighty Roar now has a 10-minute radius, and its target count has increased from 5 to 10. Unbreakable buffs now reduce incoming damage up to 10% rather than increasing tactical mitigation. Unbreakable's max morale buff is now a separate 30-second effect. Armor of the Hidden Horde Martial Commandant's Unbroken buff now lasts 60 seconds rather than 120 seconds. Sweeping Riposte now generates 2 fervor when used. Sprint is now a much faster movement buff for a shorter duration, but on a shorter cooldown. That'd be pretty much. They probably should have put that as a prologue to all that sprint stuff we said earlier. And Quick with Blade no longer changes the health threshold requirement for Merciful Strike, and instead causes Merciful Strike to restore morale at the cost of greater power. As for the Guardian, here's the one which Cinders really loves. Guardians now gain plus 10% max morale when specialized in the Defender of the Free.
Oh, yeah.
And Shield Swipe is now an AoE skill which strikes enemies in a 180-degree frontal arc.
Also nice.
As for the Hunter, Explosive Arrow now correctly plays an explosion visual effect on your target when used. Split Shot no longer erroneously generates focus when used. Pinning Shot cooldown increased from 8 seconds to 12 seconds. Pinning Shot now enrages enemies. I guess they're complaining about their foot being stuck to the floor, I guess. The trait In for the Kill now correctly increases the damage to all Hunter dots. Heartseeker no longer has a bleed by default and correctly gains it from the In for the Kill trait. And Rapid Fire T10 now applies plus 5% range damage on top of prior bonuses. For the Lore Master, Pleasant Breeze no longer breaks target stealth when used. Yay. Sign of the Wild, Rage now marks your enemy, increasing the damage they receive from all sources for 20 seconds. Fixed some pet animation display issues, and the Lore Master variant of To Arms now lasts for 15 seconds, up from 10 seconds. For the Mariner, Shanty skills, which buff or heal your allies, will no longer break them out of stealth when used. I'm sure Mariners are happy about that, as well the targets to the skills. Minstrels, Gift of the Hammer Hand is no longer immediate. And Perfect Performance Minor Ballad now increases all damage rather than just tactical. For the Runekeeper, Fulgurate Runestone no longer slows enemies in PvP, and it now has a cooldown of 30 seconds in PvP. For the Warden Gambit healing has been increased by 30 seconds. Ooh, that's nice. As for combat and monsters, Goblin Sapper Fire Puddle damage has been reduced. I guess I noted. I think I did run into some sappers in one of the new missions in there, and yes, I do notice that I think I only lost 10% of my morale instead of 50% of my morale when one of those pots slammed into me. So I guess that is an improvement. World boss Rotwing's building shadow burst effect will no longer occur unless the target is in Rotwing's general vicinity. As for quests, deeds, and adventure areas, the virtue cap has gone up to 100 for level 154 or higher characters. So expect to work a little bit more on your virtues once you hit 154. Updated the characters that appear nearby during Chapter 13.8 Last Words and fixed a typo. Elendil will no longer refer to you by your name when turning in Lost Lore of the Great Alliance, since you're technically not present. Isuriel has been reminded of Mazog's correct lineage and will no longer confuse his family tree in Volume 2, Book 8, Chapter 2. I do admit that I've been confused a couple of times during that particular part. The Gunabad Allegiance Mission, Chapter 2, The Mountain Home, now requires fewer banners. Thank you. Banners now remain after being placed. Thank you. Due to these changes, the mission has been versioned on release and incomplete progress will be reset. Well, I don't think too many people were having that problem, so probably not going to be too much of an issue. Remove the Volume 1, Book 3 forward from the list of quests that can get shared to your fellowship to prevent unintentionally blocking your fellowship members. And let's see, Volume 1, Book 3 forward. Okay, because that's the Volume 3, Book forward. That's the one that sends you to to the North Downs. Okay. and gave Kukrun's banner for hindering the enemy's defenses the correct effect during the instance Midnight in the Drownhold. As for instances and skirmishes, the boss encounter, which resets player skill cooldowns upon failure or completion, this reset mechanic will now include Ethelharn tokens, scrolls of warding lore, and scrolls of battle lore. Many people will be quite happy about that.
Indeed.
Let's see. I think. Wait, let's see. I think it was on Monday where I was last doing them because we still had to deal with those. Yeah, I think it was on Monday night when we were trying to use those tokens and we had trouble because we've got wiped one time and no reset, so that was a problem.
Mhm.
So perhaps that won't happen, assuming of course that boss is one of those that resets on failure on it. I don't know. Anyway, cosmetic pets are no longer permitted in the Dol Guldur instance group, in their absence instance group, and the Tower of Orthoc raid.
Rats.
Festival tricks.
I said rats, clearly.
Yeah, I'm wondering why. I don't know the reason for this, but also festival tricks are also no longer permitted in those instances.
That I can understand.
Yes. And the minstrel skill, Still as Death, is no longer permitted in the Dol Guldur in the same groups in there. I'm sure the minstrels are not happy about that one. And I guess they decided that, well, if you're wiped, you're going to have a real wipe. You're not going to allow the minstrel to silently wait in there and then wake up and resummon resurrect everyone. And the Moria quest instance Cease to Resist now allows players to leave the instance via the initial door. As for missions and delvings, weekly mission quests on a mission weekly and on a continuing mission weekly have been updated to incorporate new missions. This will cause these mission quests to be reset upon release. Murkala delvings will soon be available at level 160. We currently expect delvings for newly added missions to arrive with our next game update. I think they usually bring in the delvings probably around the same time that certain instances come out. And I think the idea of that is so that you don't get all the high-end goodies and that you have a content way of getting the high-end goodies before the delvings get it. Things like the 6-player and the raids and stuff like that. Progress will be reset on the weekly quest Delve Deeper, Delve into the Darkness, and Delve Deepest when Update 46 is released. All right. And landscape treasure caches no longer appear in the Elder Slade mission, The Roots of Decay. Though I did notice a couple of the treasure caches. Okay, yes. All right. So housings and decorations. Several new housing decoration bundles can be purchased in the housing wing of Lalia's Market from the Murkala decoration vendor using homesteading coins. Enhancement rune and tracery packages. And okay, I was double checking. Yeah, that is for homesteading coins. Yes. Enhancement runes and tracery packages that grant items scaled to your character level are now stamped with a max contents level matching the world level cap when the package is acquired. Previously acquired packages will be stamped with max content level 160. Package items now show their max content level on examination. And morale potion healing values have been adjusted slightly so that some morale potions of higher quality now heal for more to better differentiate them from weaker variants of the same level. All right.
Can't complain about that, at least.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean,
So
that's not true. If you really wanted to complain about it, you could. But
they'll complain that well, they won't complain that the higher quality ones are higher. They'll probably complain about the
lower
lower quality
quality
ones
ones
being
not
lower.
being changed at all.
You know how it is.
Can't make
Let's think.
everybody happy.
Yeah, nah, you can't. All right, let's go into PvP and the Moors. Updated the level scaling effect for Burglar and Mariner to reflect that it enhances both classes. Updated the level scaling effect for Champions and Brawlers to reflect that it enhances both classes. The vitality bonus for Monster Play Vigor has been reduced slightly. Tyrant's brands and Captain General insignias have been deprecated and no longer are functional. You may barter your old brands and insignias for some of their original combination value at either Gransfoot or Glandreich. Uh, These items were always stopgap solutions and were originally added when players did not have access to skill based crowd control breakouts. Though Freep classes had gained skill based breakouts for years, creeps lag behind. As of this update, though, all creeps now have a skill based CC breakouts, meaning that every player now has access to both a catch all breakout skill as well as existing potions for specific kinds of CC within the Etmors, allowing us to fully retire brands and insignias. Root potions, solvents and painful freedom, solvents of release, and file of unbinding now grant 5 seconds of immunity to slows and roots. For the Black Arrow, at rank 2, gain access to focus, which will free you from any negative combat skills. The Corrupt Bow appearance for Black Arrows can duplicate the Corrupt Longbow appearance and has now been replaced with Black Ash Umbari Bow appearance. For the Defiler, at rank 2, gain access to Smelling Salts, which will free you from any negative combat states. Okay, so they're talking about the negative combat state things that they get. Reaver Resilience is now accessible at rank 2. For Stalker, Slink Away will now cause you to enter stealth for 3 seconds.
Yay.
Is that good? Okay. Retaliate will damage a targeted enemy within range and cause incoming attacks to heal you for a brief time.
Also, yay.
At rank 2, gain access to either Slink Away or Retaliate depending on your stance, both of which will free you from any negative combat states. For Howl of the Shadow, the cooldown is reduced from 60 seconds to 45 seconds, and it now causes you to briefly enter stealth, and it now deals damage. Howl of the Unnerving mitigation debuff duration has been increased from 5 seconds to 10 seconds. It now always applies, assuming that it is not resisted, and its potency has been reduced from negative 20% to negative 10%. Disappear cooldown reduced from 3 minutes and 30 seconds to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And
That's
its
good.
enhanced trait now reduces skills cooldown by 30 seconds. And Unbreakable Stealth duration has been reduced from 10 seconds to 3 seconds.
Boo.
All right. For the War Leader, Purge is now a single target cleanse skill, which can be used on yourself or an ally to remove 1 or 2 harmful effects. Snap Out of It is now a self targeted, non AoE skill, which will free you from any negative combat states. And when using any banner skill, the actual banner should appear much earlier in the skill's animation. And for the Weaver, as of rank 2, gain access to Swallow Light, which will heal you and free you from any negative combat states. So, effectively, PvP, the updates are, except for the Stalker, is pretty much all about getting free of negative states. For the landscape, miscellaneous floating objects have been grounded. Terrain texture issues in the Entwash Vale have been fixed. Stuck Point in Furtherholm has been fixed. Lothorian dock routes from landlocked dockmasters can now be used. Ethring is now listed as the Ringlow Vale on the Stablemasters instead of Lossenach. A stuck spot in the Old Forest has been blocked off. Any characters currently still in this location will need to milestone or slash stuck to remove themselves from this location. Vale ore for Rohan quest preparing for the siege no longer is buried within a boulder. As for localization, added World French, World German, Trade French, and Trade German chat channels. These channels are included in the chat filters for the German tab by default and can be deactivated from the UI in the filter menu. For the French, translations of the titles Farmer, Wanderer of the Free City, and Proud will now display properly in French. And for German, translations for the titles Sublime, Stalwart, Dragon Slayer, and Adept of Shadows will now display properly in German. For art and avatars, added 2 new options that will allow players to change the color of hotspot area guides. And Elf and High Elves now animate correctly when using the Golden Passage milestone skill. For miscellaneous, fix an issue where removing items from a carry-all could alter their binding status. Hunter and burglar traceries found in Rivendell archive are now sorted in more appropriate categories. And handheld volume has been lowered a bit to be more in line with other instruments. And AB2 is now closer in tone to surrounding notes. Actually, is that AB2 or is that A flat 2? Actually, it might be it might have had trouble doing a flat symbol on here, so maybe that's A flat 2. That makes a lot more sense than AB2. Do you agree with that, Cinders?
Yes.
What? All right.
Say that one
Cinder's
more time,
voice is
please.
Oddly deep. Nice.
Say that one more time, please. I was like half listening and half just letting the sound of your voice go and not paying any attention to what you were saying. Can you say it one more time, Pine Leaf?
Okay. Handheld volume has been lowered a bit to be more in line with other instruments.
I would have no idea about the volume.
Okay, here's
Okay,
the one I really
was
want
like,
to. It's that.
put
Okay,
his head
it
on.
says, and a lowercase b2 is now closer in tone to surrounding notes. I was saying maybe they intended that to be a flat 2 is now closer in tone to surrounding notes.
That would be my guess, yes.
Okay, very well. Then we'll assume that they meant A flat 2. Then.
Well, I don't know that there's a symbol to put in. So, like, if you're typing B flat or A flat, or you'd have to use the letter B instead of a flat symbol, because it's basically the same thing.
Yeah, that could be that could be is that the reason for that is.
And for those who don't know, the number tells you where it's at in relation to middle C. I believe.
Yeah, I was assuming it was an octave relative to middle C, so.
But
I guess that's the question: is would it be that because that would mean that you'll need a negative number in order to have a bass tone?
I think bass has a slightly different numbering system.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, she thinks on that. I will go into known issues. Temenir of Jaret Menesh Reputation Reward Quest bestow at an earlier faction level rating than they should. These quests should be addressed in an upcoming patch. We are working to correct a bug that is causing French translation of some Update 46 content to be displayed in English or displayed incorrectly. This issue will be corrected in a game update planned for next week. We apologize for the inconvenience. We are working to correct a bug that's causing an issue with the connecting to the German world chat and German client. We apologize for this inconvenience. And we are working on a game update for next week to correct an issue in legendary items not always displaying their traceries and levels correctly that arose with the release of update 46. And there is a note to read more on LOTRO.com relating to that. Yeah, all right. We will. Actually, I guess that'll be the next thing we'll go into. That actually completes the release notes. Okay.
So I was wrong. So according to vibration data, A flat 2 would actually be in the left hand in the bass. Because A4 would have would be 440 hertz.
Okay.
Which is the A above middle C. So it is octavized. It's just in relation to middle, and it is in relation to middle C. But middle C is C4.
Okay, middle C is C4. So,
yes.
All right. So therefore, it is then in relation, I guess, to the lowest C probably supported by the music system. Whatever you call the lowest, or the lowest A, I guess.
And Krister is the lowest C. Thank you very much.
So it starts at A0, B0, and then C1 on a piano. Assuming that you're going to be dealing with 88 keys.
Oh, you mean the numbers are... Oh, okay.
So if you have a keyboard with 88 keys, and middle C is C4, that's where the fourth octave starts.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So but then on that keyboard there's an A and a B before the first C. So that first A and B in the bass tones is 0, and then C is it starts that first octave, C1. So it would be that second octave would be A flat 2.
Okay. That answers our question.
Yeah. So somewhere around 103 hertz, perhaps.
Okay. Then that takes care of that. So let's then head on what's coming up next week. Where next week there is going to be an update to the game, as mentioned in the release notes. In there, we'll have update 46.0.1, and that's going to include some of the issues I've already mentioned. Also, it'll include the Yule Festival. And there's also a note here relating to the legendary items display and what correction steps you may have on them. We are working on a game update for next week to correct an issue with legendary items not always displaying their traceries and levels correctly that arose with release of update 46. We are working on a game... Yeah. They repeated that. Okay. For players who experience an issue with any of their legendary items, or for players intending to reforge or adjust their legendary items, we have created a coupon code with 3 tracery reclamation scrolls. Players should use a tracery reclamation scroll on any legendary item that they wish to adjust before we put things back into normal for next week. Tracery reclamation scroll instructions. First, the optional step is that if you have a essence and tracery carry-all, then they recommend that you turn off auto gather on it if you've got space in your inventory, so that when the traceries are pulled out, they'll be in your inventory instead of in your bag, so you don't have to search around in the bag. I suppose that...
What's this concept of space in your inventory?
Oh, I have a story to tell about that. I have a story to tell about that.
Oh?
Yes. So, one way to get space in your inventory and your shared
Oh
vault
no.
is to transfer a character and all of your shared items to another server, thinking you're being brilliant without actually having ever done it before. Without intending to move all of the things. So on Tuesday, I took Sansa's advice from last week on how to get the Shire Plum dyed cosmetics onto Sting, and I very brilliantly logged into Peregrine, or logged into the game and got ready to move a character that I don't play. I think it's actually my human captain, and move him from Peregrine over to Sting with my shared wardrobe. But it doesn't give you a way
To be fair,
pick just the shared wardrobe. You have to pick just all shared items. And it took the whole thing. And I was telling, and I didn't, of course, open it up and log in all the way to figure out what had really happened. I was like, oh, perfect. Because it's like, it's unavailable. It's being transferred. And I did it before I left for work. So I left for work. I was talking to Sans on the phone on the way back at the end of the day, and told her what I had done. And she laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed because I had moved.
I did not. I said, wait, you meant you transferred it from Landerval, right? And she's like, no, Peregrine. I'm like, no.
And then we had a really good laugh about it because she goes, you realize you moved your mithril, you moved your entire shared storage, you moved your wardrobe, like everything that shared just went to Sting. And I was like, no, I didn't know that. And so then when I logged in yesterday to play, it was really funny because everyone's like myth-rolling to quest things, and I was like, I can't myth-roll anywhere. I don't have any myth-roll left on this server, which is the exact opposite problem I had been having. It was the problem
The only thing that would have made that worse is if you'd made that statement and then right then your horse had leveled.
Right.
To be fair, though, my advice was to transfer your shared items from Landerval to Sting.
Well, and I think you have a rare opportunity anyway, Cinders. Take a screenshot. Impress anybody in this game that's been in this game for over a decade by showing us a completely clean inventory. Wait, you have nothing in your inventory?
Right.
It's a shared storage.
She's a Sauron.
I can just put it all in my shared storage, take a picture of the empty inventory, and then pull it all back out. Anyhow, it did make me laugh, but now I can carefully, I have enough alts with empty bags or empty-ish bags and vaults on Sting that I can carefully sort out everything I want to keep on Sting and ship everything back to Peregrine when I get a chance. But I did try initially to do it from Landerval, and when I couldn't even select Landerval because of course you have no characters left on there anymore. I was like, well, maybe she meant Peregrine because
No.
and so that's how that happened.
I thought you didn't have to select a character in order to transfer. Or did they change that?
So I tried it when, after she explained her theory. And I could transfer from servers that I don't have characters on. But Landerval was nowhere on my list of possibilities. So I don't know if there was something particular with, I could transfer from the old European servers, whether I had characters or not. But I couldn't transfer anything from the old US servers. So I don't know if there was something going on with them at the time when I was trying it, or what was going on with that. But it didn't matter if I had characters or not for the European servers. And I would guess the same would be true for the US servers that are down, because that's usually true. But I couldn't see them in the selection list at all. And I know I still have alts on Landerval. I still have alts on Arkenstone. I still have alts on some of the other servers as well. Because I left all my level 1 alts behind when I transferred over. So I know I still had alts on all the US servers.
Okay.
And I couldn't see any of them in my options. So
I could see Landerval, but it wouldn't let me select Landerval because I didn't have any characters on it, was my theory. Was that was why it wouldn't let me select it.
Yeah, that may have changed then when they were doing the 64-bit thing in order to avoid some exploits and stuff like that.
But that does mean now, though, that M has Shire Plum dyed outfits available to her on Sting, as well as all of the loot boxes and everything that I had. Yeah.
At least now you will no longer have the problem of having no mithril on Sting.
Yes, but I had already fixed that problem, so I'm going to
Oh,
be back to having no mithril on Sting as soon as I transfer stuff back because I had intentionally opened the last patron's coffer that I got on the on
on
Sting
Sting.
so that I'd have
Okay.
mithril, and now so I have loads of mithril on Sting now. Um, anyhow, it was very funny. That was my little adventure in maybe read the fine print as you do stuff. Anyhow, it wasn't the end of the world. It was very silly, and I've been amused by it. But
All right. Then back to the legendary item display bug. Yes. All right. So disable the auto gather. So we talk about displaying the auto gather on there if you wanted to if you wanted to make sure that if you had space so that you didn't have to worry about trying to figure out what in your carry-all are your essences and which ones were your alternate stuff and things like that. Also, use the free tracery reclamation scroll on your legendary item. All traceries and legendary items then will items, whether displayed or not, will be placed into your inventory. So therefore, any of them, even if they're affected by the bug, they will now properly appear into your inventory because the bug seems to only relate to legendary items that are actually the traceries that are actually on the legendary item itself. And then place the extracted traceries back onto your legendary item. So apparently, once you place them back on, everything's going to be fixed onto them. So it was just items that were in your. It sounds like it was that items that were in your item with their traceries when you logged into it. Now, I was given the impression that it only affected certain characters, certain classes. They're not. I don't think they're 100% sure exactly all that was into it. I know one person's got the impression that it was an indexing issue where if you had any open slots on your legendary item, then you're more likely to be hit with this particular display issue. Now, the thing is, though, is that your actual legendary items are not broken. It's just that the display of it is broken. So trying to fiddle with your legendary items when you're not seeing the right information is a
would be
potential problem
problematic.
that you could have. And so, so they're recommending thus that until next week, maybe you try to avoid making updates to your LIs. Now, I did, despite that, partly for experimentation purposes and all that stuff, was to reforge and added a tracery on a couple of them. And I didn't have any issues, but all of my legendary items that I had were filled. All the traceries were filled. So if it was related to having empty slots in there, I wouldn't have been impacted by the bug.
Yeah.
Either that
And
or I
I
was like,
go ahead.
yeah, I'm done.
Oh, I was just gonna say I did reforge as well, but I didn't touch my traceries, and everything
Okay.
still seems to be okay.
The only thing I did with traceries was to upgrade a tracery from tier 15 to tier 16.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, the coupon code uh, for these scrolls, tracery reclamation scrolls, is DEC Tracery. And according to Cordman, DEC stands for December, so it was a December tracery coupon code is what in there. I think he said they really missed the boat. They probably should have just tried DE Tracery instead, so you could be detracery it. your system or something like that. But anyway, the
That would be
DEC is
funny.
for December. And you could use this coupon code up to 3 times on your account. And this coupon code expires on February 27th, 2026. So that's it for the ledger item thing that is scheduled to be fixed in next week's update. One other little thing that we noticed with this update is that it looks like that the kinship calendar has been implemented. We don't think they had intended to actually turn it on because it looks like it's maybe half implemented. In other words, they've implemented some of the stuff into it. They have not yet put all the infrastructure related to it. So as a result of this, right now, as far as I can tell, only kin leaders are able to put items into the calendar. I suspect the long-term plan is to allow the kin leader to allow certain members, or maybe just say all officers or something like that, to be able to do it. But right now, the permissions are on the strictest version of it, which I guess is the default. But they haven't added the interface for the new kinship items yet. So right now, it looks like the kin leader can put items into the kin calendar, but nobody else can. I did a couple of tests with this, and yes, I did verify in a kin where I was the leader. I was able to make an update. In kinships where I was just an officer, I was not able to make any sort of updates into the calendar.
Did you check? Is it like any of your alts on the kin that you're a kin leader, or just the kin leader alt?
I was on the kin leader when I was playing in the academy on yesterday. So as a result of that, I did not have an opportunity to test whether or not any of my alts were able to do it. So I can't answer that. My guess is that it's going to be a no, but I'm sure
that'd be
someone
my
might
guess
test that out.
Too, based on current permissions, but I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, I think it's based on current permissions for the character in question, and I don't think it refers back to the player or anything like that. But anyway, that's something either. I do not know what's going to happen next week, though, because I think the calendar was turned on accidentally, since the release notes make no mention of it. So I don't know whether next week they're going to turn it off, or if they're going to say, well, if kin leaders are using it and it looks like it's working fine, they might just leave it on until they get the rest of the interface in there.
They might not even realize it's been turned on yet.
Cordovan found out, because I found out during Cordovan's stream, because someone mentioned the kinship calendar, and somehow Druid's Fire, I think it was Druid's Fire or someone like that, noted that it was already up.
Okay.
So as a result of that, so Cord knows that it's up. So that means that Standing Stone knows that it's up.
Yes. Okay.
All right. So let's then head into store sales. Cinders, what's on sale this week?
On sale this week, we have 4 weeks of Yuletide savings. Week number 1. You can get 75% off Warsteed upgrades and cosmetics, but there's still no Shire Plum dye for the Warsteed cosmetics.
Perfect.
Boo. 50% off of the River Hobbit bundles and 35% off of homesteading coins through December 11th. You can also unleash your potential and get 30% off of deed boosts, universal solvents, and universal morale and power potions through December 11th. And the weekly coupon, especially for those of you who are feeling bummed about your sprint not lasting as long, there is a free plus 10% run speed boost times 5, which lasts for 6 hours, with the coupon code and I run. No spaces now through December 11th.
All right, thank you. Then let's go and there we go. Look at news beyond LOTRO, where We have an auction coming up related to the Lord of the Rings where Tolkien's Merton College desk is going up for auction.
Oh, that'll be interesting to see what that fetches.
Yes, so we do have a link showing the desk, which looks like I think it's either Victorian or where did see? I forgot when the desk was built in there, but it is this is the desk that Tolkien used when he was the Merton professor at Oxford, and it has all of so it has the desk, and it looks very very different from I guess what desk because it has a on the top thing it has a whole lot of drawers with these cubby holes in it. And the thing about this desk is this is the desk that he used when he was doing the latter parts of the Lord of the Rings. So most of the Lord of the Rings was written at this desk. Anyway, this auction is called the event is called the Groundbreakers Icons of Our Time. The the auction is being done by Christie's of London. The date is going to be says date December 11th, 2025. All right, and estimated price that they're currently saying they're thinking it's going to go between 50 to 80,000 pounds is the range that they expect it to sell for. And so this isn't just a piece of furniture, it's a witness into literary history. The desk is a mid-Victorian mahogany and satinwood roll top dating back to the late 19th century. It features classic green leather writing surface, pigeonholes for correspondence, and the distinct gravitas of an Oxford Don's workspace. The Tolkien used this desk during his tenure as the Merton Professor of English Language and Literature at Oxford University, a position that he held from 1945 to 1959. And let's see. And this desk history didn't end with Tolkien. It is a fascinating twist of literary fate. Tolkien sold the desk directly to another titan of British literature, Iris Murdoch. Murdoch, the Booker Prize winning novelist and philosopher, acquired the desk from Tolkien, likely in the late 1960s, and used it for her own work. It remained in her possession until her death, adding a second layer of literary heritage to an already significant artifact. So yes, that's so you could get. I believe that there is a link in here. I presume that there is a link in here to the auction event, so that you could check it out yourself if you're interested in. Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, they understand J.R. Tolkien's personal desk in there. That is the link to Christie's, and they give you the details on it. And on here, let's see what we got here. Do they have anything else here that is of use? No, I guess not for this. Oh, yes, they do say that there are registration closes in 5 days and bidding will start after registration close. So I guess you have to register in order to put in a bid. So that I guess they know who you are or something like that.
They probably want to verify that you can actually pay for it.
Yes, that is probably one of the key items in there. Yeah. Do you actually look like that you could pay 50 to 80,000 pounds for a desk?
Right?
Yeah. Good point. So let's go from desk work to our weekend gaming. Krister, what were you up to?
Well, I didn't quite have the power to go in and face the fact that I have to level my character up again. But I did decide to force project into Lotro to harass people that were actually leveling, and I was very satisfied. I came into a peaceful gathering of people that liked each other, and I ruined it for everybody. With my work done, I then retreated back to the shadows and was I've actually been having a great weekend ever since.
Wonderful.
Lies. He didn't ruin it for everybody. But it was really funny. Okay, so he started talking and Maven goes, I've missed your voice. And then he said something else and she was like, and now I don't.
That's what I was going to, yeah, it was immediate like, oh, wait a second. Yeah. Now I remember the silence. Yeah, so I played, I've been playing Helldivers 2 a bit, and in Enshrouded, I'm really looking at what's frustrating with Enshrouded is you really want to build a base, but there's no like true creative mode in Enshrouded. So you really want to build a base and make it look really cool, and then you realize I've got to go do this and this and this and this, and then I got to combine these and that and this, and so you just end up using really shoddy building materials. When no, but I've been really with Enshrouded in particular, just been impressed by the graphics, the environmental effects. It's just a very impressive game from that standpoint. So weekend gaming was a little bit light, but it was fun. I had a good week. And Cinders, what did you get up to?
Well, I did, other than that little snafu with moving stuff around, I did play some LOTRO this week. I played LOTRO with Ploy last night. I was part of the group that was checking out the new content, but I will not give out any spoilers. There were several spoilers given last night, and I was like, what? No! Anyhow, I probably should have been paying more attention and then I would know all this stuff, but I really just kind of don't pay attention to that kind, like the stories, and so I will be very surprised because I'm sure I will forget all the spoilers I was told yesterday. But it is so far interesting. I was super excited about one of our traveling companions when I found out who we got to travel with. So that's going to be fun for those of you who haven't dipped into it yet. I think you'll be as excited as I am. I also played some Stardew Valley with Pineleaf on Sunday. We were trying to get to 100% before the 3rd with the new release on LOTRO, and that did not happen. We're still working on it, and he doesn't know this yet. But I did take the day off on the 19th as a mental health day. So I will be available to do some gaming, and over the break, we hopefully will hit 100%. And then
All right.
also,
which is going to have priority, the new content in LOTRO or Stardew Valley?
I figure we can split.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be all or nothing because I'll get bored of doing just one.
Yeah, there is that.
And then I did the Discord checkpoint after being very disappointed it had been disabled on mobile. And my kid was like, I did the Discord checkpoint. I was like, I can't find it. And he's like, well, let me try. And then he's like, yeah, I can't find it either. And then I did some Googling and found out they disabled it. But it was available again this morning. But it's also available in the desktop version if you have the latest, if your Discord is updated. And Pineleaf is my sidekick, and then Sans and Krister are part of our squad. So I was also amused by that. Sans, what have you been up to this week?
Well, besides giving you advice that turned out poorly, sorry about that. I really did mean Landerval, though. I did some crafting in LOTRO. I was going to do more, but Peregrine was down when I had more time. So then I killed some bosses, defeated some Dolmen incursions, and started a companion quest in ESO. Some of which with the whole crew on Wednesday night, and some of which with Guare. And that was pretty fun. And then I did some more exploring in Enshrouded and in Ark. And I found a cool possible base location in Enshrouded where 3 biomes meet. And it looks pretty cool, but like Krister said, building a base is a lot of work. So I put down an altar so I can get back there, and that was about as far as I got towards building a full base.
That's why you have me.
Right. And then I did some playing in Ark, where there is a true creative mode, and making a base is so much easier. And Yeah, that was my week in gaming. How was your week, Pinely?
All right. Well, my lore master headed into the new region. I finished up the Motorwood, which is the first of the 4 new regions in there. So I headed into the second region, and just at the very, very start of that, and I think I reached level 154. So starting to get up there. Maybe I get up to level 155 soon so that I could unlock certain daily quests and stuff like that. We'll have to see. And my warden started the new content and has just reached the Motorwood. Since I'm recording my warden's progression through there, so I'll be going a little bit slower on there on my warden. So my lore master's there so that I could experience the storyline. And then I also ran missions in several areas since I like to do testings on how the missions are in there and to see what the experience is like for lower level characters in the missions. So what I found is for the Motorwood missions, word of warning, do not take your low level character to the Motorwood mission site because the guardians of the Motorwood, the elves there, the Kentai elves there, take exception to the existence of low level characters. And they will come and pound you on the head and send you back to your home, your rightful home, which is whatever milestone you have at lower level.
Ouch.
Yeah. So therefore, that's that of course I don't think is working as intended because missions are supposed to be available for level 20 and up, and I know they are discouraging you from using these mission givers at lower levels simply because I could tell from the rewards in there. Because I looked at the rewards in there. One of the rewards is IXP. Okay, maybe if you're level 45, you can at least use the IXP, but if you're below level 45, you're not getting any IXP. So you have that. Then the second reward that you get into there are the barter tokens for the area. And of course, barter tokens are completely useless unless you have the rep for the area, and the rep requires you to be at least level 150. So you can see that's not going to go anywhere if you're a low level character. And the third item they give you is an enhancement rune. Tier 16 enhancement rune. So that means not even a level 50 character has got their, is going to be able to make use of the enhancement rune because you have to be at least level 151 in order to use that enhancement rune. So yeah, there's absolutely nothing there. Okay, yes, I know they're the drops from the mob drops you have while you're in there. So it's very difficult to get there. You get because they don't have them in the mission network either. So therefore, the only way I was even able to get a level 40 character to the Motorwood was to first use the housing item, the one that you get for the Ultimate Edition. Use that to get to one of the other locations, the second region area's location in there. I forgot exactly what they called that location. So I had to get into there, Zajat or something like that. But once I got there, I could do the missions at that location. But if I wanted to do the ones at the Motorwood, I would have to take a stable master there. But of course, since the stable masters require you to be level 150 in order to use them, that means you have to use a mithril coin with the stable master so that you could use the stable master in order to go there. But fortunately, I had a few extra mithril coins on Lanterable, so I was doing this way as way of experiment to see if I could do all the missions in there. But of course, then I get over to the Motorwood, and yeah, if any of the guardians of the place see me, they come up and, as I said, forcefully remove me from the high level zone.
Which is so unusual because normally it's the mobs that do that, not the guardians.
Yeah, that was because the first time it happened, I was thinking, was it the mobs? I said, no, 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 wait a minute. That looked like it was the guardians and not the mobs that did it. I think that they are used to by now toning down the mobs near mission locations so that they won't come into them, but for some reason the guardians that are at the other location, they have no trouble with level 40 characters in there because I'm walking right by guardians inside Zajad, and they pay me absolutely no mind. But it is those at the Motorwood, though. I guess those Kentai, they really want to enforce. They want to make sure that that blight doesn't spread. So they are keeping lobies out because they think the lobies might be spreading the blight. That's what I must think about that.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that could make that might be the entire reason for the whole thing. Anyways, I ran several missions with higher level characters. I also tried with a couple lower level characters, especially at the location where they dump you when you use the housing item in there. It's very, very inconvenient, but to take a low level character there since we don't have those stable masters. Maybe when they add the mission recruiter stable masters to the new mission locations, maybe at the same time they could take care of those rather let's say enthusiastic guards over those enthusiastic Kentai who are trying to guard their precious area. And that is my week in gaming. If you have any feedback to us, you can send it to podcast@LotraPlayers.com. The Players Alliance has 2 shows. On Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we record Lotra Players News, and we record DDO Players News when Drac is available. You guys join us for our shows at LotraPlayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight. And this is Pilot Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.